corner. Zilisch overshoots it. He's going to have to go through the A-frames. They're spinning in turn 2. Unbelievable restart with 7 laps to go. Austin Hill is your race leader.
It's a loser's strategy, but it is a strategy, and it is beneficial if you can, if it works out the way you plan.
Connor Zilisch did something during a race in 2025 that made everyone stop and stare. Fans didn't know what to think. The drivers were shocked, and one racing star said it might change the sport forever. What happened on that track? Why is everyone still talking about it today? You won't believe the story behind this moment. It all started with a nearly flawless performance. Zilisch, just 19 years old and returning from a collarbone injury, led 70 of 78 laps and swept both stages. This was his 8th win of the season and marked yet another milestone in what's been a breakout year for the young driver. But while the scoreboard celebrated his dominance, the final moments of the race told a different story. In the last restart during overtime, Zilisch locked up heading into turn 1. Instead of taking the corner, he veered off the racing line and cut through a designated escape path marked by A-frame signs. This chicane is meant to serve as a self-penalty for drivers who miss the corner, but in Zilisch's case, it became his golden ticket. While chaos and collisions erupted behind him, Zilisch bypassed the mayhem and re-entered the track with a clear lead. NASCAR chose not to penalize him, citing that the move was within the current rules. The decision caught many off guard, leaving some fans cheering and others scratching their heads in disbelief. The lack of a penalty quickly became the main topic of conversation across the racing community.
Zilisch is there. Look at someone the line. Bonsai into the corner. Zilisch overshoots it. He's going to have to go through the A-frames. They're spinning in turn 2. Unbelievable restart with 7 laps to go. Austin Hill is your race leader.
That decision lit a fire. Denny Hamlin didn't mince words. On his podcast, he described the win as very controversial, raising questions about whether Zilisch even attempted to make the corner or had always planned to exploit the chicane. Hamlin pointed out that by skipping turn 1 and using the escape route, Zilisch gained 2 critical advantages. He avoided potential contact in a wreck-prone zone, and he lost little to no time. In fact, the design of the chicane made it nearly as fast as staying on the racing line. Hamlin's criticism wasn't aimed at Zilisch's talent. He acknowledged that the best car and the best driver had won the race. But for him, the real issue was the rules and track design that allowed a move like that to go unpunished. According to Hamlin, this wasn't just a one-off problem. He emphasized that similar issues with chicanes and escape lanes had been around for years, and yet NASCAR had done little to address them. The frustration wasn't limited to Hamlin. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also spoke out, criticizing the corner design at Portland and suggesting it should be eliminated altogether. He argued that if a self-penalty system can be gamed so easily, then it's not doing its job. Many fans agreed. Social media lit up with discussions about whether Zilisch had essentially cheated the system, even if he hadn't technically broken any rules. The inconsistency in NASCAR's enforcement also came under the spotlight. Hamlin reminded everyone of the 2022 incident involving Ross Chastain at the Indianapolis road course. Chastain had used an access road during a restart, trying to avoid a wreck. NASCAR handed him a heavy penalty for that move, yet Zilisch, who pulled a nearly identical stunt, was allowed to keep his win. This double standard raised eyebrows and added fuel to the controversy. Zilisch himself addressed the situation after the race. He admitted that during practice he had tested the chicane and found that it wasn't significantly slower. He said it was never his plan to take that route during the race, but when the brakes locked up, it was his only option. His post-race comments made it clear that he didn't feel like he had done anything wrong. In his mind, it was a case of using what was available to survive the restart.
Don't hate the player, man.
Well, he did it once prior, and NASCAR said it was clean, so
he just got faster at doing it the next time. And from what I understand is that Xfinity teams were practicing running that chicane during practice.
But Hamlin wasn't buying it. He suggested that Zilisch might have made the move deliberately, knowing full well the advantages it could offer. Even if that wasn't the case, the fact that the system allowed such a possibility was, in Hamlin's eyes, a massive failure by NASCAR. He called it poor planning and said that the organization needs to find a way to ensure that cutting the track truly penalizes the driver. Fans watching the race were split. Some applauded Zilisch for using smart racecraft under pressure, taking a legal route to avoid disaster. Others felt cheated, believing that the integrity of the finish was compromised. For a sport that prides itself on competition and fairness, that's a dangerous line to walk. The situation also brought up deeper questions about how NASCAR adapts to new generations of drivers. Young talents like Zilisch are sharp, calculated, and willing to exploit every inch of the rulebook to win. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's part of racing. But the responsibility lies with the sport's governing body to make sure the rulebook can withstand that level of scrutiny. In this case, it didn't. Zilisch's win will stand. But the controversy surrounding it isn't going away. NASCAR is now under pressure to review and possibly overhaul the rules around penalty chicanes and escape lanes. Fans want clarity, drivers want fairness, and analysts want consistency. The last thing the sport needs is another season defined by debates over technicalities instead of talent. Portland won't get another chance to fix the issue. The track has already been dropped from the 2026 Xfinity Series schedule, a move that some speculate may be linked to the controversy. Whether or not that's true, the message is clear. NASCAR can't afford to ignore the problem any longer. Adding to the complexity, several former drivers and analysts have begun chiming in. Some say this kind of strategic move is exactly what separates good drivers from great ones. They argue that in a sport built on tight margins, using every available option is smart racing. Others are concerned that this opens the door to more chaotic and confusing races, where fans no longer understand what counts as a fair win. The rulebook becomes a weapon, and victory can hinge more on loopholes than on performance. Sponsors don't like wins mixed with drama. It can hurt their image even if the driver did well. They want clean races and positive stories. The bigger issue is what comes next. If NASCAR doesn't fix the rules, other drivers may try the same thing. Hamlin's warning wasn't just about this race, it was about protecting the future of the sport. This case is big because it mixes skill, strategy, and the rules. Zilisch didn't crash anyone or break cars. He just used the rules as they are. By doing that, he showed a problem many missed. Hamlin spoke up and people listened to him. Now it's up to NASCAR. If they don't act, more drivers will win in ways that spark the same kind of debate. Zilisch may be the future of NASCAR, but the sport has to decide whether it wants that future defined by speed, skill, and spectacle, or by loopholes and ambiguity. Either way, the Portland race will be remembered, not just for who won, but for how he won. And what happened after the checkered flag may matter even more than what happened before it.
I think it's all fine until he does something to until he does something that irks a Hendrick or somebody that's above, like directly above his chain of command. Like, hey, in the Cup race, him and McDowell racing each other to the finish.
The Southern 500 turned wild. Carson Hocevar slammed doors with Chase Elliott, and in that moment, he ignored a clear warning from Dale Earnhardt Jr. The fight on track shocked fans, shook the garage, and proved that trouble was coming the second Hocevar crossed the wrong line. On Sunday, August 31st, 2025, the Cookout Southern 500 started the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Darlington Raceway. Chase Briscoe won the race, but most people were talking about the fight between Carson Hocevar and Chase Elliott. On lap 125, the two drivers hit each other while racing for 15th place. Smoke from the tires filled the air, and the trouble went far past just that race. Why was this such a big deal? Because NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt Jr. had already warned Hocevar about this exact thing. Dale Jr. said very clearly, "Don't mess with Rick Hendrick's drivers." But Hocevar didn't listen. Earlier this month, Dale Jr. talked on his Dale Jr. Download podcast and explained it straight. He said, "Everything's fine until he runs into one of Rick's cars or something like that, and he has to go into the office and talk to Rick Hendrick. That will have an effect. That might not fix it all, but that will have an effect on the decision-making behind the wheel." Dale Jr. wasn't kidding around. He said he liked watching Hocevar race, but only until the day Hocevar made Hendrick Motorsports angry. At Darlington, that's exactly what happened. On lap 125, Chase Elliott drove his number, 9 Chevy Low, trying to find space. Hocevar driving the number, 77 Spire Motorsports car, hit him with a bump and run. Smoke poured off the tires and both cars were damaged while fighting for a middle spot in the race. This wasn't just any crash. Elliott races for Hendrick Motorsports, the same team Dale Jr. had warned Hocevar to stay away from. And if the bump wasn't enough, Hocevar made it worse. On his radio, he shouted, "Him! I don't care who he drives for!" That moment showed Hocevar wasn't afraid of Elliott or Hendrick Motorsports, even though his own team, Spire, gets engines from Hendrick. That made his words sting even more in the garage. Hocevar already had a tough name in NASCAR. His wild driving style made other racers mad many times. Ryan Blaney called him a moron. Ryan Preece said he'll have his day. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. promised to beat his 8. Austin Dillon even called him the biggest dummy in NASCAR. What happened at Darlington only made his bad rep worse. Just 27 laps after hitting Elliott, Hocevar spun out in turns 3 and 4 and caused the second yellow flag of the race. Then, on pit road, things got worse. His number, 77 Chevy, ran into Christopher Bell's number, 20 Toyota. Now, Hocevar wasn't just in trouble with Elliott. He was messing up the nights of more playoff drivers, and every point counted big. Bell didn't hold back after the race. He said, "The 77 just didn't yield. He didn't give way. The only reason that we had contact was because he was so far behind the field catching up. Honestly, I don't really give blame to Carson. I think it's more on his team to not let him know the circumstances." Bell believed Hocevar's crew should have told him to yield. Instead, the mistake left Bell limping home in 29th place. His playoff hopes dented badly. Despite everything, the bump on Elliott, the spin, the crash with Bell, Hocevar finished P9. On social media, he posted, "Haha P9 after all that. Rode the Dente." To some fans, it sounded like a joke. To others, it was more proof of his hot-headed style. Either way, he walked away with a top 10 finish while Elliott and Bell paid the price. What makes this story so big is how it ties back to Dale Jr.'s podcast. He had said he was fine with Hocevar's aggression until he messed with Hendrick Motorsports. That moment, he warned, would change everything. Now, Hocevar has done exactly that, battling Chase Elliott, one of Rick Hendrick's prize drivers. Dale Jr.'s words feel less like a prediction and more like a prophecy that came true. In NASCAR, respect and relationships carry as much weight as speed. Crossing Hendrick Motorsports doesn't just risk one race, it risks long-term trust with the most powerful team in the sport. Hendrick builds engines, supports alliances, and influences decisions across Chevrolet. By slamming Elliott and dismissing it with a curse over the radio, Hocevar may have made more than just one enemy. He may have drawn a target on his back in the garage. While Hocevar was stirring drama, the race itself was a classic Southern 500. Chase Briscoe dominated, leading 309 of 367 laps and grabbing his second straight Darlington crown. That result locked him into the round of 12. Even Dale Jr. had praise for Briscoe on his podcast. "Dude, he is dangerous. He's got to be one of the guys I need to worry about." So while Briscoe celebrated one of the biggest wins of his career, the spotlight also burned on Hocevar for all the wrong reasons. Around the garage, the storyline wasn't just about who won. It was about Hocevar's behavior. Drivers already frustrated with him now had more evidence of recklessness. Fans debated online whether he's the next big personality or simply a wreck waiting to happen. Some saw his P9 finish as proof he can compete. Others saw it as luck, surviving chaos he created himself. What happens next could shape Hocevar's future in NASCAR. If Hendrick Motorsports and other powerhouse teams view him as too reckless, his chances of moving into stronger rides may slip away. Teams want drivers who can win, but also protect equipment, respect allies, and avoid fights that drag the whole organization into trouble. Sponsors, too, keep a close eye. They love bold personalities that grab attention, but they don't want their logos tied to constant wrecks and angry quotes. Still, controversy is a double-edged sword. Hocevar's fiery style keeps his name buzzing on social media, in headlines, and around garages. Some fans are drawn to his no-fear attitude, while others are turned off by it. At just 22, he has time to learn and mature. Back on his Dale Jr. Download podcast, Earnhardt said it plainly, "I'm entertained by Hocevar until it becomes my problem. It's all fine until he does something that irks Hendrick, or somebody that's directly above his chain of command." Those words felt more like a warning than casual talk. At Darlington, that warning came true. Hocevar clashed with Chase Elliott, Hendrick's biggest star, and suddenly Earnhardt's prediction looked like prophecy. By bumping Elliott, Hocevar didn't just trade paint with another driver, he poked at one of NASCAR's most powerful teams, backed by Rick Hendrick's influence and Chevrolet's engine supply chain. That's the kind of move that doesn't fade quickly. Dale Jr.'s point was simple: crossing Hendrick's drivers can change how the garage treats you. And for Hocevar, Sunday showed that exact line being crossed. The Southern 500 was supposed to be remembered for Chase Briscoe's brilliant win. Instead, much of the talk centered on Carson Hocevar ignoring Dale Jr.'s warning and clashing with Chase Elliott. This wasn't just one more feud. It was the very scenario NASCAR's most respected voice had predicted. Hocevar crossed the line with Hendrick Motorsports, and the consequences may follow him far beyond Darlington. So now the big question: did Carson Hocevar just make the biggest mistake of his young career, or is this the spark that will make him NASCAR's next polarizing star? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you think Dale Jr.'s warning was spot on, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the stories shaping the future of NASCAR.
Now can they muster up a run to attack Haley? Here comes the 5 with a run off turn 2. Ryan Blaney ahead of Custa, coming to the line. Ryan Blaney's gonna do it!
Ryan Blaney raced that night, and nothing was the same again. The race looked normal at first, but soon everything went wild. The crowd stared eyes wide as the last laps came. It wasn't only about who won. Something bigger was happening, and when people saw it, it was already too late. Ryan Blaney wasn't just racing for a trophy at Daytona, he was racing to prove something. And when the checkered flag dropped at the Coke Zero Sugar 400, he did more than win. He made a statement. The last race of the NASCAR regular season is always full of big moments, but this one was extra wild. Many drivers were trying hard to make the playoffs, and things got intense. Ryan Blaney came out of the madness in a way no one expected. In the final laps, it wasn't just a win. It was a perfect mix of smart moves, patience, and bravery. It was a masterpiece of timing, patience, and sheer guts. With 2 laps left, Blaney was not even in the top 5. He was back in 12th or 13th place and looked like he had no chance. The race was close, the pressure was high, and the usual Daytona chaos was coming. Then something amazing happened. Blaney found a tiny gap in a 4-wide pack and made one of the best moves of the year. When he crossed the finish line, it wasn't by a wide margin. In fact, it took a photo finish to confirm what fans in the stands had just witnessed. Blaney beat Daniel Suarez by a razor-thin 0.031 seconds, with Justin Haley and Cole Custer right behind in one of the tightest finishes of the season. Blaney didn't just survive Daytona, he dominated it in the most dramatic way possible. But the real drama wasn't just at the front of the pack. Behind the leaders, playoff dreams were on the line. Alex Bowman, who had started on the front row after qualifying was rained out, had wrecked early in Stage 1. For nearly 3 hours, he waited nervously in the garage, watching the race unfold with one eye on the leaderboard and the other on the playoff cutoff line. For Bowman, everything depended on who won the race. If someone who hadn't won a race all year got the win, Bowman would miss the playoffs. Blaney's win didn't just help himself, it also helped Bowman. If Suarez or Custer had won, Bowman would have been knocked out, and the playoff lineup would have changed completely. As the race ended, Bowman's relief was visible. He joked afterward that he owed Blaney more than just a thank you. It wasn't just a matter of friendship or team allegiance, this was career survival in a sport where every second counts. Tyler Reddick was another beneficiary, clinching the final playoff spot alongside Bowman.
Oh, I'll take $5 million. Save him some money, I'll take $5 million. But yeah, someone told me that he got in because I won, right? Like if the 41, the 7, 99 would have won, he would have been out. Really? Well, I'll take that offer. I do need a refill if he's still here. I can.
The implications of Blaney's win went far beyond just the standings. It marked his 15th Career Cup Series win, his second of the 2025 season, and his second at Daytona, the first coming back in 2021. But what stood out wasn't the stats. It was the way he won. There was no massive wreck in the final lap. no desperate blocks or out-of-control maneuvers. Blaney praised the field for racing cleanly and smartly, especially in a setting that's known for chaos. Even when Justin Haley bumped Cole Custer near the end, it didn't turn into disaster. Instead, it cleared a path for Blaney to surge forward.
I thought they raced really smart and well and didn't throw their cars in any foolish situations. I thought everyone did a great job of just having a great race, but also, keeping it clean as well. So I think props to everybody, where you didn't have a guy that needed to win. That was just an absolute hammer out there.
That respect on the track made the finish all the more impressive. It wasn't just a win earned through luck or someone else's mistake. It was clean, calculated, and fierce. That kind of control in a high-stakes moment is what separates good drivers from great ones. For Team Penske, Blaney's win was a much-needed breakthrough. It snapped an 11-week winless streak for the organization and reasserted them as a serious threat heading into the playoffs. Penske has always performed well in the postseason, especially in the next-gen era.